forgive me for this trap shit. Sergeant Smack making backflip. Telly Hank did with the action. With the Vato speaking Spanish. Frank Matthews, how I vanish. Poof. Came back like I'm King Tut. Gold BBS is on a beamer. When Fat Cat was 10 queens up. Ball off the profit, not the re-up. Fly like Puerto Rican Jesus. Uptown like I'm Baby May. Just caught a touchdown from the Bay.
So my younger asked me, who is Lee Lucas? I say, he's a street legend.
Detective Elvin Howard, how many times did you shoot him? Marlo Mike, about 3 or 4. Howard, who gave you money? Marlo Mike, Boosie. Howard, how much? Marlo Mike, $2,800. At times, you could see Marlo Mike lay his head on the interrogation table. Mike talked about his relationship with Baton Rouge rapper Lil Boosie. Boosie said, if you get them, I got money for you. Y'all catch that N-word, kill him. Stamp that N-word.
Was the last witness called by the prosecution. She has a 5-year-old with Hatch. She told the jury there was no problem between her brother and her child's father that she knew about, although she says they weren't the best of friends, but they were not enemies either.
Boosie is not only making headlines in our backyards, he's the talk of the national entertainment media.
Police here arrested and charged him for first-degree murder, and as talk circulates around his hometown, some tell our Tiana Williams his song lyrics were telling the real story.
Fast forward to today. Boosie is back in handcuffs, charged with first-degree murder. The Baton Rouge Homicide Task Force says the rapper was involved in a shooting at this house. Terry Boyd was killed.
A jury of 9 women and 3 men made the decision. 9 of the jurors are black and 3 are white. Did that factor into the verdict?
Absolutely not.
I don't think so.
I mean, we had white witnesses, we had black witnesses, we had white jurors, we had black jurors, we had male, we had female, we had experts, we had layperson, and every single person saw the truth, which was that he had nothing to do with this.
News the jury had reached a verdict came at 3:30 this afternoon. Police cleared the courthouse and beefed up security outside as they waited for the verdict to be announced.
Innocent from jump start. This man has been innocent. He's been innocent this whole time. Fans across the whole world have been praying for this.
Lucas came to my aid when I got remained when back to prison. I love who I am. I love what I do. And then I be fly with it. Like in my hood, I used to go change clothes, 2 or 3 times. But I did those things because I used to see Lee Lucas do those things. He used to change clothes. I ain't had the money to be switching cars, and he switched cars, changed outfits, just changed cars, Raw. That's raw to me. So I emulated a lot of the things I saw, I can do it now, though. Balenciaga's just like Jordans. I get fresh when I'm recording. I go get fresh, then record me a song, and put my sweats on and leave the house.
Now, according to the government, it would be a letter or a kite that Boosie would get from Lee Lucas that would start the chain of events that would end in Terry Boyd's death. Hey, what up, though? Shay's Popalot. We back in the town on MOBB business. Now, today we talking about one of Baton Rouge's most well-respected and most infamous. Now, outside the city, he's mostly known for being immortalized on plenty of Kevin Gates' songs, and he's also referenced as Kevin Gates' father on media outlets like The Advocate. But Kevin Gates himself would explain the relationship of something more like a stepfather or almost a mentor. But for those in the city and that can do their history, they know Lee Lucas as a get money nigga that was about that action. And for somebody who has already served 2 decades in one of the hardest prisons in the world, his name is still relevant and ringing in the streets. Now, the most recent time people probably heard about Lee Lucas was when Kevin Gates went on a prison visit to go see guys like Mac C. Murder, where Kevin Gates will receive a lot of scrutiny online for a picture that was taken where he would be flashing a bankroll alongside of those people that I mentioned. Now, Lee Lucas, who from my understanding is serving a life sentence in Angola prison for a crime that was allegedly committed about 27 years ago on the day after Christmas in 1996. Now, in a trial that seems somewhat shaky, it would see Lee Lucas receive a second-degree murder conviction for the murder of a guy by the name of Eric Howard that would occur on that day at a Howard Johnson's hotel in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Now, according to the documentation from his trial, it would say that the murder would occur on the wee morning hours of December 26, 1996, at about 2 a.m., when the victim, Eric Howard, would arrive to that Howard Johnson hotel along with several passengers, a guy by the name of Derek Sleepy Collins, along with another gentleman by the name of Clayton O'Lindy. Apparently, the three men had been at the hotel to pick up a female by the name of Titonia Haynes. Now, the documentation would suggest that the police would immediately identify that the person that was responsible for the murder of Eric Howard was parked in a vehicle directly next to his, which happened to be a Lexus. Now, Eric Howard, who would make it to the hospital in critical condition, would almost give the cops somewhat a dying declaration where he wouldn't identify specifically who killed him, but he would give them enough information to say that the defendant had been driving a green Lexus. Lee Lucas would eventually be connected and arrested for the crime. In that trial, Clayton O'Lindy would testify that while in transit to the hospital, Titonia Haynes would refer to Lee Lucas saying he was out bad for doing that. O'Lindy would testify that he understood that to mean that Lee Lucas had no reason for allegedly shooting the victim, something that Titonia Haynes would dispute during her testimony, saying that Derek Sleepy Collins was originally the person saying, man, Lee was out there bad, and not her. She would also testify that she would only name Lee Lucas as the perpetrator in pretrial statements due to the detective on the case, a guy by the name of Detective Bauer, coercing her by telling her that Lee Lucas was actually the person responsible for that murder. In classic fashion, Detective Bauer would testify that he never instructed Titonia Haynes, testifying that he never told her to name Lee Lucas as the shooter, and actually had no idea who Lee Lucas was before speaking to Titonia Haynes. Now, in a case with these high stakes, with somebody's life on the line, everybody seemed like they was called to testify, from the victim's mother along to Lee Lucas's mother, who would testify on his behalf in an effort to support his alibi, where he said he had been visiting a girlfriend in Lafayette on Christmas Eve in 1996, where he would return to his mother's house in Baton Rouge at approximately 8:15 a.m. And on the day of Christmas, he had remained at that house until the next morning. His mom would go on to testify that he had been sleeping in his sister's room. He would eventually be convicted after they would call a salesman from Beverly Bills Motor, a guy by the name of Tommy LaFarve, that would testify that in July of 1997, Lee Lucas had bought in a blue Lexus, which did not need a paint job, somehow connecting that blue Lexus to a green Lexus that was seen parked near his mom's house. Like I said, that whole trial was really, really shaky, and they would rely a lot on that death declaration of Eric Howard. Now, as Lee Lucas sat in that cell in Angola, besides those Kevin Gates references, the next time we would hear his name would be in the shocking murder trial of Little Boosie, where the government would allege that it would be a letter written from Lee Lucas stating that Terry Boyd had just been released from prison and had plans to do harm to Little Boosie, who was his sister's baby father, with the alleged letter allegedly saying that Terry Boyd was going to jack and slap Boosie. And to be honest, really knowing that situation in depth, I really want to say it was the fact that the government could not produce that letter, and Lee Lucas was never or not going to testify on the behalf of the government in support that he wrote that letter. That would be the biggest factor in Little Boosie beating that murder conviction. And though they didn't have no direct evidence connecting it to him, they had a hitman, allegedly, Marlo Mike, saying that Boosie was connected to it. And they also tracked Marlo Mike from Boosie's studio to Terry Boyd's house where the homicide would occur, right back to Boosie's studio. So I honestly seen people convicted with less evidence, but you really can't convict somebody without a motive. Now, y'all make sure y'all hit the red bell and subscribe button right under this video so y'all know when this real trill spill shit is dropping. Y'all get in the comment box below, especially if you're from Baton Rouge in the city. Let these people know about Lee Lucas. Y'all let me know what cities we need to go to, what stories I need to tell, what I got wrong, what I missed, all of that. Y'all definitely tap in with me directly. Instagram, Twitter, POP_A_LOT. And y'all know the verdict. Till the next time, salute the almighty mob.